Texas, it was Tennessee. It was what I had.
Welcome in, folks. You have arrived at the Texas to Tennessee podcast. To my upper left is my friend Soul Gravy. My name's Steve, and tonight we have a gentleman by the name of Eddie Esler on. Eddie,
Hey, how's it going?
good to see you. Welcome in.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure. We've been looking forward to it. I think what I would like to do, maybe to get started, just so folks can get a little bit more familiar with you. Do you mind taking a couple minutes and giving us a little bit about your backstory?
Yeah. Hey, my name's Eddie Esler. I'm a singer-songwriter based here in Fort Worth, Texas. Originally from Amarillo, up in the Panhandle. Moved down here about 5 years ago. I guess I'm coming up on that anniversary here pretty quick. So, but yeah, singer-songwriter. Play guitar, mandolin, harmonica. Those are the only ones that I say I can do somewhat well. So, I can play drums if you need some like really good white boy hip hop beats, So
Nice.
like maybe a lo-fi careers in my future.
Awesome. Well, Soul Gravy and I like to play a little game to start off the show, so you'll have to bear with us during this one. So I know you're living in Fort Worth, or based out of Fort Worth, and originally from Amarillo. The game we like to play is we name famous people from your original hometown, and Soul Gravy has to guess who they are or why they're famous.
You
So
did a great job at this.
Oh no.
yeah. Bear with me on this one. We're going to start them off pretty easy today. So first off, a guy named Roger Miller.
I've heard he's
familiar?
the king of the road. Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
king of the road. Nice.
Yep.
Terry Stafford.
I'm not so sure about that one.
Terry Stafford wrote a song called Amarillo by Morning.
Oh, okay.
Pretty well known.
Mhm.
J.D. Souther.
Familiar with this
Familiar. All right. Kevin Fowler.
one? I'm
Kevin, yeah.
pretty familiar with, even in Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah.
Aaron Watson, close by. But
Yep.
Trent, somebody who just came up, I think, last week. Trent Willman.
Yep. Familiar with him. He had
Trent's
some-
worked
he had
with.
some big hits at one point in time, and I remember, oddly enough, every time I look up "Good One" coming on by Blackberry Smoke on Ultimate Guitar,
Yep.
because I don't really know how to play anything, Trent's version of it comes up every time, and I have to it kind of sets me back a little bit every time. Yeah, not Blackberry Smoke, just Trent.
Okay. Solid one. John Rich.
Yep, familiar.
No, John Rich. Okay. Joe Eli.
Yes.
Yes. Soul Gravy, you're doing great so far. Just keep saying yes.
Thank you.
All right. Here's where it starts to get tricky. One of these persons was actually on a list we had previously, so we're going to test your memory. Not this gentleman, T. Boone Pickens.
Yeah, he was.
Have you heard that name?
Yes, I'm familiar with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
T. Boone's not with us anymore, but lived a pretty big life. Trevor Brazil.
Not familiar with him.
He's
that
a
I know
road.
of.
He is a world champion.
Rodeoer.
Yeah, I think all around maybe. This one you're not going to know, but he's a friend of mine, so I'm gonna mention him.
Bob down the street.
His name is Alex O'Brien.
Hey, I know Alex.
Do you?
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine.
Okay, how about that?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so Alex and I, when we were young, both played tennis, and so he was one of the best players in the country for his age. He was amazing. Yeah. Anyway, shout out Alex. How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm just offended that you would just assume that I don't know who Alex is.
He played at Stanford, so he's pretty good.
I'm pretty up on Stanford tennis. Come on, geez.
There you go. A gentleman by the name of Bum Phillips.
I know that name. Well, I don't know why I know that name.
He used to be the coach of the Oilers when they were in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, Bum Phillips had Earl Campbell on his team. They were pretty
Okay.
good. And then last, I don't know his real name, but I do know he goes by the name of Amarillo Slim. No?
No. Not that I know of.
One of the most famous Hold'em players of all time.
Okay. Okay.
So, shout out to Amarillo. Thanks for representing tonight.
Dude, we bring the heat, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I may have left some folks off. I should always say that, but it wasn't intentional. I tried to go as deep as I could, but
Yeah, no, that was good. There
Yeah.
were some I didn't know.
hey. All right, cool. Well, since we're in Amarillo, can you talk a little bit about the music scene in Amarillo? And I know you spent a little bit of time there.
Man, yeah, I mean I kind of came up out of there. 'Cause I got my start playing bluegrass music up in Colorado, in college, and it's kind of the first time I like was playing out and playing bars and going, going to jams and whatnot, and so I moved back to Amarillo, and it was kind of like, man, what's going on? I play mandolin and started looking around, and I was really playing mandolin at that point in time, and started looking around. Was like, where do you go? It's Amarillo, and I remember when I was a kid, I went and watched my guitar teacher play at the Golden Light Cantina down on 6th Street there in Amarillo. And it's like a legendary place. It's one of the oldest restaurants in town. And so they back then they had dollar pitchers on Thursday nights. It's like dollar pitchers.
Yeah, hello.
So insanely fun night. Like I mean I go there, I'm fresh out of college. This had my name written all over it,
Right.
So I go hang out there, and I ended up just hanging out at the Golden Light all the time, and ended up meeting so many musicians from around there. One you missed, I guess, is Matt Martindale from Coup de Grace,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and he would be playing on Thursday nights around that time, and so we go up there, watch Matt play, and man, I just kind of slowly started. We started a band, my first band. We would rehearse at the Golden Light, on stage. Kind of my first two bands. I had a key to the cantina for a long time, where we would just go set up on stage at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, and
That sounds
you know,
dangerous.
people had no idea what was going on. They're like, "Why is
Why
there
is,
a
why is,
drummer
why
going
is
at
this
3?"
band? Why is this band playing the same song 6 times?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That happy hour people out on the patio. The guy that used to book it, Arcadio, he's kind of a legend around there. But he came in and goes, "Hey Eddie, I love that song, but like I loved it the first 10 times I heard it. Could y'all work on another song?"
Nice.
And what was crazy about doing that though is one time I was in there, or I go because it's separated, so there's the bar side and the restaurant side, so we were able to do this. And I go over to the restaurant side, and Michael Martin Murphy's sitting in there, and he's kind of a regular around Amarillo and the Golden Light especially. And started talking to him, and he ended up coming over to the cantina and hanging out with us, and played
Oh
a
man,
couple songs, and watched us practice, and
super
so
cool.
yeah, it was super nice. But then, like the next week, Matt Martindale's there with his family eating, and I was like, "Could we have a rehearsal with
Right,
like some country music stars showing up?" So,
for sure.
but it really like he was only there because he lives there, but
Yeah, that's cool. So I know at some point you gravitated. Oh, maybe this is wrong, but did you? I think didn't you win a songwriter contest at the Blue Light?
I think I made the finals one
Okay,
year, and the one I guess I would go to the one in Lubbock all the time,
right,
and there definitely became a point in time where I was in Lubbock at the Blue Light more than I was in my own bed. It seemed like,
right.
um, so yeah, the Blue Light thing is definitely it. I kind of once I got clued into what was going on down there, I was like, hey man, this is cool. Because like Amarillo, there was a bunch of great musicians, but there weren't a bunch of songwriters, and that was really kind of what I was into and doing at the time. And so we would kind of pile up in a car on Monday nights and drive down to the Blue Light and
Right.
go do the songwriter night there. And through doing that, I mean, I got to meet a whole lot of people. Pretty much anyone I feel like that came out of the Blue Light in the last 10 years, I've crossed paths with
Yeah.
at least. So
And then timeline, I probably am skipping some stuff, but then I know you ended up at LJT. I think that might have been the first time that I was introduced to your music, but you were in the songwriter contest there as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was the man. I'd like just moved to Fort Worth. It was like I moved to Fort Worth and pretty much drove out to LJT's place is what it felt like, you know.
And I'm guessing that
And
opened up a whole nother world of
that
songwriters and
was
musicians, and I'm sure some crossover there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. LJT, for people don't know, I mean, it's a great place to go play, great festival, but if you're up and coming, it's a great place to go get heard and network and meet people from all across the state, you know, that are working in music in or just your diehard music fans that are the
Right.
people that, you know, those are the people you want behind you. So
Yep.
yeah, LJT was great. I went out there for the whole week. I can't really say I survived, but I made it through.
You lived.
Yeah, and yeah, but to be able to do that within the first 6 weeks of moving to a new town, and sure, LJT is an hour outside of town, but so many Fort Worth people
Right.
and just North Texas people were go to that for, you know, just for the festival. And
And
so yeah, just getting to meet people.
so was that like was that right before COVID? Or
Yeah, that was the year
okay,
before. Yeah, it was
that's what I thought.
2019.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
Yeah, wild time. Well, we don't need to spend any time on that, but I do have a really weird question I'm going to ask you.
I
So,
couldn't tell you about it. I don't remember it.
yeah, me either.
Okay.
Um, all right, this one is called the pie question, and you just got to bear with me. There's an end to it, but it's kind of a long question. So, I'm going to give you a pie, and I want you to divide it up into 4 sections. So the 4 sections all have to do with music, 4 pieces of pie. The first slice of pie is songwriting or creating the music. The second piece is recording. The third piece is performing. And then the fourth piece would be running your own individual music business, which is essentially what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So, which of those 4 areas do you think you kind of naturally gravitate to?
Um, yeah, my favorite part is like the writing process and the arrangement and the process it takes to go from an acoustic song to a full band song. I love that process. Tightening things up, working on it, with the group, making it a full song.
Okay.
Um, Recording, I do love recording. It's not my like number. I'm just not the best at it. Like I get in the studio, you put a little pressure on me, and I fold sometimes.
Yeah, it happens to
May,
everybody.
Maybe I scream cuss words. I don't know, but like it just.
Hey, it's a high pressure situation. You know, there's always
Yeah.
if anybody knows a place where we can go record for free, let me know because it's always expensive, and also you know you're trying to obviously put your best foot forward, and
Yeah.
sometimes stuff just doesn't click like it does some days.
But
So
that's it, you know, and like I get into it and the perfectionist takes over and then the spiral in my head happens and then next thing you know I'm done for the day. You know, it's
yeah,
just like it's not happening today. But
it
so
happens to
it's
everybody.
I do like to take my time and be able to, which is hard in the recording process,
Yeah,
I understand,
for
you know.
sure.
So
And then maybe with the other two, your general thoughts on the other 2 categories, which would be performing, and then you know the big slice of running your business, which includes
mhm.
so many different things.
Yeah, the performing part I think is that may be number one. I kind of forgot about it when I was talking about the writing part, but
Yeah,
just like the stage and the lights and the sound check even and the crowd and
it's
meeting people and the whole thing is that's the number one for me is the fun. I mean that's kind of the cherry on top, you know.
yeah,
That's
it's the
that's the
reward.
reward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Okay.
Um, And then running a business, yeah, I do enjoy it. I'm not the best at it. I could be better.
Well,
I think I wasn't when like when I decided to do this about 10 years ago, I the DIY thing was just starting to happen. TikTok wasn't a thing yet.
sure.
I I think back then, I don't know that I knew I was going to have to run my own business quite like I do now,
Right.
and
Right.
in some days that I'm very thankful for that. And then other days, it's the worst thing in the world. So it just kind of ups and downs.
Always there. All right, cool. Well, Soul, I've taken up way too much time, so your turn.
What you were just talking about the business side of it. Has there been anybody that you've kind of leaned on or kind of went to for advice on things to do or not to do, or has there been
Yeah,
anybody that crossed your path like that?
I like as far as there are definitely you hear those stories of guys that have like a mentor or someone that they really do get to lean on. I I've had some people, but not quite like that situation.
Understood.
Not that I would ever not I can't quite call someone a mentor, but I have had
Gotcha.
guys I've looked up to and have helped me kind of piece things together. Or even just like watched, like from afar. I'd say like especially 8 or 9 years ago, William Clark Green was a guy I really just respected him and loved what he was putting together and how he was doing it coming out of the blue light. He's he's kind of a guy I've always respected. We're around the same age, and he was just always levels above me. And it was kind of like, man, this guy's doing it. And uh, I not that I've met him before. I don't know that I'd be able to ask him a question though.
Right.
So
Understood. Understood.
yeah,
You just never know how those situations will go in circles like that. Even if it's somebody that's a peer, I'm sure you learn just from
yeah,
conversations. You learn some stuff from without
yeah. Some of
meaning that,
it's.
without being a mentor necessarily, just
Mhm.
a friend. So
And so yeah, sometimes it's conversations and other times it's stories. Just, hey, did you hear what happened to such and such band? Or passing. There was a time, especially when I had the band and we were out every weekend. There was definitely a time where we would. I felt like I saw some of my friends at gas stations in the middle of nowhere more often than I would see them like in town. 'Cause we'd just be passing through. Uh, so that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess like business wise, probably Will Green, or even like Josh Abbott's a great example from around that area that was really doing something and still is. I can't say was.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
Josh.
for sure. No, I mean those are two great examples, and I
Hmm.
can't tell you how many people feel this. I haven't heard it as much about Josh. Just I don't know, maybe because I haven't been paying attention to the scene as closely, but so many people say great things about Will. Just being just a stand up great dude, and
Yeah.
it's been fun to watch him have some success.
Yeah, absolutely. I just kind of one of those guys. Anytime he puts a record out, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Like, it's gonna be good.
Oh yeah,
You
for
know.
sure.
well, we did have a question in the TikTok chat. So from Tunes and Throttles, there's actually another podcast. So go
Ah,
ahead
Cool.
and
shout out to
check
Tunes
them
and
out.
Throttles.
Yeah,
Y'all go
I like
check
that
them out.
name.
They're
Yeah,
they're
I do too.
just getting rolling with some artists. So kudos to those guys. But he wanted to know what inspired the writing on "Last to Leave Amarillo."
That was the I started writing that. I wrote that as I was starting to look into moving to Fort Worth. Um, the band my last band Eddie and the Eat had just kind of like finally taken the nosedive, and so we had one tour left, kind of a run of shows down around through Fort Worth. I think it was like San Angelo, Austin, up Fort Worth, and then back. And the band wasn't going to do it, so I just started calling venues and was like, "Hey, this is the thing. Here's what it is. Like, I'll be there. I'll show up." And I ended up writing that song on that run, and it was just kind of like, am I going to take this leap of faith? And oddly enough, on that run, I played that song for the first time it was outside of Fort Worth. Now I think about it, it was some boat dock thing, like a bar at a boat dock deal. And anyways, I played that song, and everyone really enjoyed it, and we're like, "You should get down here," and that's kind of like when it started. It was like, okay, maybe I should, and I think a year and a half later, I was down here.
Nice.
So yeah. I mean, I think that was it. It was just really more about like a story thought about it was the what ifs about moving too, and just being upset with your hometown and wanting to get out and see what else is in the world.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I think it's a little bit early, but I think we should go ahead and just go ahead and play that song.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, thanks for the question in the chat, and that leads
Yeah,
to
well, that was a well-placed question.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Well, when you don't get to talk for 15 minutes, then
Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
it's all right. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Last to leave, Amarillo. Here we go.
Turn the page to another time now on it. Just let it roll. Live on down the line. Time to get trouble. I've been in trouble too long. Put a little distance between me and you. If your last one, you know that good. Won't you turn those lights out for me? If your last one, leaving no lemon will. Won't you let us set yourself free? 'Cause I've been beat up, broken to now haunted, stones and hit. Even if I'm blue, path ahead seems so dark and lonely. Hit that gas, light up some stars. With your last one, leaving no Amarillo. Won't you turn those lights out for me? If your last one, leaving no Amarillo. Won't you let us set yourself free? 'Cause I've been falling down when I can't hit the ground. Used to be my kind of town. Guess I'm headed south. So if your last one, leaving no Amarillo. Won't you turn those lights out for me? With your last one, leaving no Amarillo. Won't you let us set yourself? Go on, set yourself. Let us set yourself free.
Yeah, man. Good
All
stuff.
right.
I was listening to that
Pulled the
today
tater.
at work, kind of refreshing and everything. So I guess I would like to know, and it's probably pretty common with you guys, but for the rest of us not in Texas, why the move to Fort Worth? As far as, was it music wise?
It was to get off the highway wise.
Okay.
The amount of time I was spending driving 287, which is a notoriously not too, it's 4 lanes the whole way up, and you stop at you have to slow down in 13 towns. It's just kind of 5.5 hours of speed traps, pretty much.
So you were already working in DFW area a lot, and you were just making that trip and just
Yeah, I was just doing it too much, and there was kind of a time where I was living in Amarillo, but was in DFW or Austin every other weekend. And then I was also going out to Nashville writing quite a bit. Um, and it was just kind of like, hey, I want to be by an airport. I want to be not not but it's pretty much just not stuck out in the plains by myself. And I think now with especially with TikTok and everything, I think now it's not quite as much of a necessity. But I guess just at the time it was, and really there was some life stuff going on. It was time to get out of town for me, and I'd been there 9 years, and if not now, when? And
Right.
so I don't know. It just kind of happened.
just for people that randomly come on, find the podcast. I think like until I started talking to Talbot and guys like you don't really think of DFW. I mean, it's a huge place, but you don't
Mhm.
think of a scene, like you do Austin and whatever,
Yeah.
but I understand that like now after talking to everybody why there's a lot of work there for musicians
Yeah.
and the networking amongst other musicians and all that stuff. Like
Yeah,
Venues.
it's like another Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's especially with DFW, it's kind of like there's Dallas, and then there's Fort Worth, and then there's Stephenville out there. And between those three, and if you drew a circle around it for about almost 100 miles on each of them, that it kind of all gets clumped into one, it seems like.
Yep.
And there's guys that live in Stephenville that play in Fort Worth like a local. And it's vice versa. There was a time where I was playing out in Stephenville just as much, and I've always looked at them as three different scenes. And you could go spend some time in Dallas and meet the Dallas guys because they're definitely different guys than you're going to meet on a Monday night or a Wednesday night in Fort Worth.
For
And
sure.
and so just trying to get to network and meet as many people as possible.
Yeah, it's just that's a unique situation though. You
Hmm.
can go ahead, but that's unique to have all that kind of different, I guess, different layers, different styles, whatever you want to call it, and
Yeah.
relatively close driving, that's
I mean, I think in Texas, we're lucky just because it's, on a Friday, Saturday night, it's culturally the thing you're going to do is go listen to live music.
Yep.
yeah, that's great.
Culturally, we've gone two-stepping for hundreds of years. It's just ingrained in the culture down here.
Well, and even to take it a step further, there's, within 150 miles of the DFW area, I mean, there's so many venues, and not only within DFW, but you get out in a lot of these smaller communities out in Texas still have dance halls, and I mean, there's just, Waco's just down the road. They've got venues down there, and on the way to Austin, obviously there's a bunch of venues in Austin as well. So that drive to Amarillo gets a little bit longer, I'm sure, every time, right? Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're driving through 13 towns with maybe one of them has a place to play,
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here?
And then, potentially too, if you're, depending on where the career goes, you may need to fly to Nashville every once in a while to do some writing or whatever. And if you're
Right.
already in DFW, that makes that thing a lot easier as well. So.
Yeah, there was definitely a time where I was out there a couple times a year.
Yep.
And it's been a couple of years now. I need to get back out there. But yeah, I mean that was really it too, is just to be able to, if I need to get up to Denver or something, easier than having to hop in a car. So
Yep, makes sense. Well, Eddie, I want to ask you a little bit about songwriting. I'm always kind of fascinated how artists arrive at creating the music. So, some folks I talk to go, some of my best stuff has just kind of been delivered to me, which is hard for somebody who's not an artist to wrap their head around. But then, some folks are, just always kind of chatting in their phone, leaving notes. I know there's a bunch of different ways to get there. I don't know if you start with melodies first or what, but I'm just curious kind of how you go about it.
Yeah, a lot of it, for me, it's almost like there's different styles of songs, as in just like the process that I come to the end, like one would be, uh, like there's like a driving song, it's not, you hear driving song and sometimes I think like Widespread Panic or something, but really driving song to me means I wrote it while I was driving, and
Right.
so, but yeah, like a driving song would be, I'm driving along and I just get it in my head and I'll start working the words in my head and start coming up with, and it's just a game I came up with really to pass time. Um, but just I'll kind of come up with a line like Small Town Swing is definitely one of those songs. And I came up with Small Town Swing and I just thought it was funny and I thought there was some good alliteration in there and
Sure.
okay, what's the story, and and that one in particular, I was driving down to a gig in Midland and was just happened to be, I think I was outside of La Mesa and that, but that's where it happened. And so I just got in the phone and just started writing these couplets down, like voice memos. And so then I took it to, okay, get to the hotel. All right, guitar, like what now what? And a lot of times I'll start with the guitar. So that's why I call those driving songs because it's words first.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And then, but a lot of times it's typically just me sitting on that couch right behind me with a cup of coffee in the morning and strumming on something. And if what I'm playing, a lot of times what I'm playing will kind of be like, oh, there's something there. Just it may be a little passage on the guitar, and it's like, okay, well, there's something there. What is that? And then that will start the process. And then sometimes I'll have this chord progression where it's like, okay, what is this about? It's like there's the backbone of it, but it could be about anything at this point. And so then it gets fun because then you can come up with what's the story? Where are we? Who's there? What time of year is it?
Right.
And that's where you kind of start filling it out.
That's cool. Average time it takes for you to put a song together. That's really not a fair question, but I'm curious.
The good ones, 30 minutes, I feel like all my singles are always written in 30 minutes to an hour, and then some like Small Town Swing, that one some I'll work on for 6 months to a year. And they're it's just until I'm happy with it really is it, the final.
Well, I don't
I wonder on that
Oh, go ahead,
if
sorry.
you're more if artists would be more connected to a song that happened fast. You know what I mean? Instead of one that you got to slave over, I could see where I don't know. I guess it could go both ways, but in some ways, when a song just kind of rolls out, I could see where you would kind of almost be more connected to that song for some reason, but.
Yeah,
Probably just
yes
depends on the song.
yes and no. I mean, because sometimes those quick ones, it's just like, oh, that was that 30 minutes of my life,
Understood.
and sometimes with those too, it's like I don't even know what I was saying there. I just I don't even know what that's about. But then you'll talk to someone and that song is about something to them,
Oh
and
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's why it's there.
Yeah, I've always thought that that's wild because, I've never experienced this, but you write a song about something, you release it, and then you kind of don't own it anymore. I mean, you do own it, but it kind of especially the more success the song has, it can mean 80 different things to.
I was gonna say most
so
of
many
mine are
people.
still mine.
Okay,
Well,
Y'all make sure you take Eddie's songs.
Right. Right. Well, we'll have a test afterwards, and we'll quiz everybody on the
Yeah, there we
meanings of some
go.
of these songs. But I've always thought it's weird that you can put out a song, and then all of a sudden people take it to mean something completely different, and at some point you kind of just have to let it go. But it is what it is. But
Hmm.
from a songwriting standpoint, it's kind of a lazy question I don't like asking, but who would be some of the folks who maybe influenced you from a songwriting perspective?
I mean, there's the Towns and Guy Clark that I think if anyone with a guitar in their hand from Texas will probably tell you those two.
Sure, that's fair.
Uh, but one for me is you did mention earlier is J.D. Souther. I was his sister was my music teacher growing up,
Oh,
and
wow.
his niece is one of my best friends, and I grew Maggie. She's an incredible singer and songwriter also. But yeah. But I knew him as Uncle David. Uh,
That's pretty cool.
I didn't quite realize who he was until my mom had to like put it in perspective because. So yeah, he was definitely one.
Absolute
Uh,
legend.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like from Amarillo, I don't know, I'm stuck on Amarillo, but like Joe Ely and Terry Allen,
Yeah.
those guys, I like Terry Allen, man. He's kind of one of those guys that it just seems like he just puts anything on paper and it works, and it's like it's
Yeah.
just it's like what was that? And then you listen to the song and it's like, oh my gosh, you're in his little world with him, uh in just the simplest phrasing, and it's some of it's kind of weird and kooky, but like I feel like Lubbock on Everything is his album that everyone talks
Oh,
about, and
yeah, for sure.
I think there's like 30 songs on it or something,
It's insane.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, for those folks that maybe don't know Terry is a amazing artist, not only musically but also like a sculptor, and he's kind of a Renaissance artist. I mean, he sticks his
Mhm.
hands into figuratively and literally into a lot of different things. But yeah, I mean, he's absolute legend as well. So yeah, very cool. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
asking. Thank you for answering that one. I do have a couple more. Any short-term goals that you want to accomplish, like maybe just looking at this year, things that you want to get done or things you want to try to accomplish?
Yeah, I've got this new project I've kind of quietly been working on, with my upright bassist, and I found this mandolin player that's pretty great. And we've kind of been doing this little bluegrass trio around town, and but we're starting to work up three-part harmonies and stuff like that, and then it's like, okay, there's something here. Like every time we play. This is kind of crazy. This was back in November, but we were playing a gig and it was just a regular gig, and so I have Terry, the bassist, come, and I met this guy Ryan off Craigslist.
Oh,
And dude, I just was like, I'm gonna put out for instrumentalists. Let's just see. So this guy answers, and I told him, I was like, hey, we're playing. He couldn't. I was gonna meet him, and then I was like, why don't you just come to a gig? So I told him, I was like, I'll have a mandolin, a guitar, like whatever,
yeah.
like show up. And he shows up, and like from the get, it was like we'd been playing together for 10 years. And it was just like, uh-oh. And like immediately from when we started, phones came out. It was like, okay, there's something here. So we're kind of working up a new project right now, and it may be a new band. Not necessarily me with that, but it'll probably be just like right now we're looking. I'm kind of joking with the idea of like something like the Cadillac Ranchers or something like that,
Ah,
and
cool.
it'd
Yeah.
be a band. Yeah.
So I
So
don't
I'm
know
kind of
if,
working on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds very exciting. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you can edit in like the Step Brothers part where he goes, "Did we just become best friends?" But that would work right there. Be fun. So
Yeah.
Okay.
well, you were talking about new music, and Cynthia in the chat brought up the
Oh yeah.
news
Hey Cynthia.
that you may have some new stuff, new songs that you may release as singles in 2025.
Yes, yes. That's oh, I forget we weren't live whenever we were talking earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'd intended on releasing one this Friday, and it just things come up, you know. So I'm looking at like probably March would be ideal for me. It's kind of with how busy I am right now and things going on. Be looking towards that kind of mid-spring, something like that, or
is that
whatever
just
that is.
is
Yeah,
that so that you can play gigs around it and things of that nature, as far as the
yeah,
timing, not to get
and
too
and
personal or
just
whatever, but
filming content and all the
okay,
stuff you have to do with it now.
I got you.
Um,
Makes sense.
and just get it, not just throwing it out there, you know, like have a game plan and have some sort of thought of a marketing plan, to go with it. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Is a lot of it is like with the one I didn't release was I was wanting to put some pedal steel and piano on it,
I
and
got you.
it scheduling wise with the holidays, it just didn't quite work out to get it on there. And so it was like, do I put it out like this or do I wait? And to me, I would rather have it a more full,
Yeah.
not just because otherwise it just sounds like a demo off my phone, and I can I can text that to anybody, I feel like. So I just wanted it to be a little bit better than where I'm at. I'm just not happy with it right now. So
Understood.
You only
You
get
were
one
talking,
chance to release it, though.
yeah.
Right.
do what?
I said you only get one chance to release it, so you want it to be right.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
makes sense.
And that's I've released stuff before where it was like, oh, I forgot to do that, or why didn't I do that? Or you don't think of like a cool part until it's out there on Spotify. And
Yeah.
it's too
Understand.
late at that point.
You're making that trip from Amarillo back to Fort Worth, and you're like, son of.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so what about co-writing? I mean, you mentioned doing some Nashville trips and things of that nature. And we talk about this randomly, but a lot of us, when we think of Nashville, we have country music radio is all we think of in
Hmm.
Nashville, or the past. Um, but there's a lot that go there's that's a very small percentage of the Nashville pie, and was co-writing and maybe and kind of why you were going to Nashville.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to dip my toes into that world and see what it was. And I you hear about it, and I guess as a songwriter, it was like, well, okay, what is this? Wait, people are getting paid to do this? I mean, it was kind of that deal too. It's
Right.
wait, like you can do this professionally, um, and so I went and I don't know. I think the performing thing I wanted to keep that going, so I didn't dive into it quite as much as I could have or should have. I think to have a good run.
Understood.
Or like moved there and done that, I do, and done the 10-year town thing. And I just, I can't say it's not like I was like, oh, it's not for me. I just, it didn't make me crazy enough to move there and go do it all the time. I don't
Understood.
know. Yeah. Like I love what people do, and I love being able to go there and play and meet and write with people. I just don't know if that's how I write daily,
Right.
in
Were
a room with four people and
It's a
right.
different deal.
Mhm.
yeah.
Were you already
Um,
co-writing with folks before then? Before you tried to take that trip, or what?
yeah, I've definitely done some here in Texas, and had a buddy that what was last time we went out there, it was we'd met a bunch of people on, I forgot the app's name. It was like you talk. It was what was that? It was like you were in these rooms. I can't even think about it, but or what it was. But anyways, we ended up meeting a bunch of Nashville connections and just wanted to go and like meet the people, hang out, and then play some shows.
Right.
And for me, it was a great introduction to go see what that was about. And I've since gone out. I've gone back out there a few times. It just I a lot of it is you just like the planning of it. I think there's guys that are better at planning that than I am. I feel like,
I'm sure it's a
For
learning
sure.
experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Um,
Go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I will go ahead. Social media. We talk about this every once in a while, but I'm curious, kind of your general thoughts on it, kind of how you go about with strategy. Kind of figuring out what things you want to accomplish. I know it can be a little bit of a daunting task with all the different
Yeah,
platforms, but can you talk to us at all about kind of how you go about doing social media?
man. Yeah. First of all, I'll say I hate it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's okay. That's not that
No,
uncommon.
yeah, no, I think it's like a necessary evil at this point. I the TikTok thing, I didn't want to get into it for the longest time, and then when I did, I was like, this is amazing, you know. So I do like there's parts of it I love with social media that is the connecting and the networking from home. I don't have to go out to shake hands, and you do get to meet some people that you'd have never met.
Right.
Uh, I think like the pressure that I'll sometimes put on myself to like be consistent or create content, that gets old very fast.
Yeah.
Uh, I've learned the closest that anything comes to a job is probably bad. Because if it starts feeling like a job, then I probably won't do
Right.
it.
Right. I understand.
Um, but uh, but I with like TikTok and all the with social media now, I do love like the experimentation process of it. Is the like I felt like with TikTok at first, I was just like throwing darts at the wall and just hoping for something to come out of it, and you can kind of and now and just like the quality of the content, and stuff like that, and you work on it and try to get better, and that's fun to me. Is the process of trying to make it better. But then there's also sometimes where it's like it's like I think sometimes it's if it takes longer than an hour, I get sick of it real fast. It's
Yeah.
um
I mean, that makes sense. I know there are times, I don't do a ton of, I guess what you call creation, but there are times when I spend a significant amount of time trying to put something together that I think people would enjoy or would help, spread the word about some artists
yeah.
that we're, getting to chat with or whatnot. And the more time on it I spend on it, the worse it does performance wise.
Yeah.
And so I can't even imagine how that would feel if I was actually creating something, art wise, and then putting it out
Hmm.
there and thinking about how much effort goes into that, and
Oh
then
man.
getting frustrated because, like the thing that took me 12 seconds to think up, got twice as many views as the thing that took me an hour to work
Gets
on.
the tens and tens of views.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for
I mean,
sure.
that's what's so frustrating about it is you do that, and that's kind of what I came to learn is like all the ones that it's almost like the same with like when I say some of my best like singles songs have been written in 30 minutes.
Right.
I don't know what that is, but there's just something about that lightning flash original thought that because like some of my biggest TikToks that have done well for me is like me just making a joke or like that Tyler Childers joke when
Right.
man I just recorded a podcast, gotten home and like was having a good day, decided to make a joke, posted that, and next thing I know it was everywhere,
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
and yeah, and And that was kind of the day I learned. It was like, why am I setting up microphones and lights and spending 5, 6 hours re-editing in Adobe or whatever, I forget what it was, but the other
Right.
program, and it was like, what am I doing? Like this. And so I did try to dial that back, but there is also like that's the fun part too, is the creation and trying to make it look good.
Sure.
Um, but it can be so demeaning and degrading whenever you do spend like 4 hours working on something and the next day like 200 people saw it, and
Yeah, it's a
but
tricky deal because, you work so hard to get those folks kind of in your camp, so to speak. I don't know what the best way to say
yeah,
it is, but then it doesn't even get to them.
Yeah, they
Like I'm
don't see
sure
right.
it.
they would like it, but sometimes they're not even going to see it, right?
Yeah, that is frustrating when the 200 people that it sends it out to isn't even followers
Right.
or someone that would appreciate it, or
Yeah.
it doesn't give it a chance.
Well,
Um,
I don't envy that part of your job for sure. It's I think the video that I had that did the best was I took a snapshot of something on TV that said HEB was limiting how much brisket you could buy. And I put some music to it, and I literally spent 12 seconds on it. And,
mhm.
like that
Uh,
was not great content, but for whatever reason, more people
Is
decided to, respond about that or whatever. So, I
yeah,
mean, I
and
love brisket, so it's fine, but
yeah, I think you can always be safe with fun, funny or something like that. But like with a song that you wrote, and
yeah,
it is very hard, that especially if it's a very personal song,
absolutely.
that if it really means something to you, that I could see someone. I think some of it too is like I've dealt with a lot of rejection through doing this for so long.
You have to.
I don't think to say it doesn't bother me would be a total lie because it does, but I feel like I have tried to come up with some ways to cope with it, I guess, a little bit better, or you may manage those negative thoughts and
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
you know, because that happens, and people say no, and it is what it is.
Yep.
So
yeah, I imagine the kind of putting the time into the a video and then posting it and not getting much reaction is would be similar to playing a song out and people talking over it and things like that. It's in the
yeah,
same world.
yeah, I mean, it's
You're just,
exactly that.
you're just putting yourself out there, and it's not you know. Except for like you said, the difference online is you don't know if those people actually got to a chance to see it,
Right.
which is
Right.
different. What about playing online? As far as I mean, I think you've done like the TikTok lives and things like that. I
Hmm.
mean, have you? Uh, a lot of I don't think a lot of folks realize that is a way to really, meet and greet some folks, that aren't going to be at your shows or that might lead to your shows or, you know,
Yeah.
that is one of the things that I could see a lot of artists, taking advantage of is, you know,
Hmm.
just kind
I
of putting yourself out there like that.
It's been good for me. It's kind of one of those deals. People ask, why are you just sitting there at the desk on your with your guitar, and but really, I have met some great people that follow and have come to shows and or even like send a gift, and I make a tenth of a cent off of it. Like that's great.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I will
It's
say
something.
for those that haven't had the opportunity to sit in and watch Eddie live, here's a good reason why you should go follow him. And if you just arrived at the podcast, you showed up at just the right time because we have rapid fire and then one very important question to answer at the end. So thanks for being at the Texas to Tennessee podcast. Make sure you go follow Eddie on all socials. I'm sure you wouldn't mind if somebody found you on wherever they stream their music and followed you
Not at all.
on the journey there as well. So would appreciate it if you all would do that. And while you're following folks, feel free to follow us. We'd appreciate that as well. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's get to the rapid fire if that's okay, Soul.
uh-huh.
All right. Spotify Wrapped came out about 30 days ago.
Hmm.
Any idea who's on who's on your, top of the list?
Yeah, it was surprising this year, but yeah, it's probably not what you'd think.
Yeah.
Like number one this year for me was Mac Miller, the rapper.
Oh yeah, okay, Mac Miller.
And I think he's an incredible lyricist. I
For
think
sure.
he's um, one of the greatest, or probably one of the better songwriters of that generation. And I just love his music. The stuff like his new he just came out with the record. Or a new record came out Friday, and it's just like this jazz hip hop stuff, and I can't get enough of it. I
Very
love
cool.
it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I like asking the question because it almost always is not what I think it would be. I don't know if that sounds weird or not, but like sometimes I think, well, it's going to be
Right.
Chris Stapleton or Jamie Johnson,
Right.
or whoever, but then it ends
Yeah.
up being something a little different.
It's the same as what I was talking about with the bull riders not listening to George Strait as they're getting on a bull.
For sure.
It's the same thing.
Same deal,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's like if I've been in a bar listening to country music all night, and then you play country music all night, and then you get in the car, you're probably not putting on country music.
Usually it's a podcast for me, honestly, on the
Yeah.
drive home from a gig. That's
Podcast, or there's this classical station over in Dallas that's great. It's like this, it's all orchestral music. Or sometimes if it was a bad night, silence.
Interesting. All right. Desert Island album. You're stranded on a desert island. You get to take one album with you. What album would you choose?
Oh man. I don't even know. I'd have to go with like a Grateful Dead show.
okay.
So there's a lot of songs. It's very
Yes.
long.
It's good choice.
Yeah.
Different genres within the. I think let's say Grateful Dead Europe 72. We'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's a good answer. That's actually a really
planning
well
ahead
thought
on
out
this
answer.
island. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's planning on being there, being
Actually stranded.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hang out on an island and listen to some Grateful Dead. That's for sure. So
Sounds like fun.
It definitely could be worse.
Where's the rum?
Dinner with one historical figure. They can be either alive or not with us anymore.
Oh, I'd have to say, man, there's so many. They just keep
That's fair.
they just keep making more every day, man. I'd have to say, who would be really fun? I'd really have to say like Frank Sinatra, or someone that like is
Got a few stories.
known for a good story and a good drink.
Yeah, solid. Ideal green room.
What do you mean,
what would be in your ideal green room? What's mandatory?
Topo Chico for sure. Like Topo Chico with lime.
Nice.
Have to be there, I feel like. And then like if I was just being like weird and like needed something like gummy worms or something, I don't know.
Anything physically in the room that you want? Aside from food and drink?
Just a couple guitars, really. You know? Yeah.
Pretty low maintenance. Topo Chico, gummy worms, and a couple guitars. So
Yeah.
cool. All right. First concert that you attended, and then the first concert that you paid to go see.
First concert I attended was Amy Grant at Amarillo Civic Center.
Yeah.
And then the first concert I paid for would have been Snoop Dogg at the Amarillo Civic Center.
Oh, yeah. Amarillo.
Yeah.
The Civic Center is kind of, I saw Bonnie Raitt's coming there in a couple of days. I was doing research on Amarillo, and they're still putting in some pretty big names, so that's impressive.
Yeah, that was the 2001 Dr. Dre 2001 tour.
Oh,
that had just come out. I was
that's
16, man.
Yeah.
Had no reason being there. Had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
It
well,
just
we got to
just
grow up at
smelled
some
funny.
point, right? Yeah, it did probably.
I did
Um,
grow up a lot that night.
Fair enough. Bucket list venue, maybe one inside the state of Texas that you haven't played that you would like to play, and then maybe one outside of Texas that you'd like to play.
In Texas, Green Hall. I'd love to play there.
Yeah.
Out of Texas, like Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa,
Sure.
be great.
Yeah. Two
There's
great venues.
obviously Red Rocks, you know.
Also good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think Red Rocks has to be it though, right? You know, like that's got like Kane's is cool. No, no
For
offense,
different reasons.
Tulsa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So I probably shouldn't extend the interview, but didn't you go to school in Colorado?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get out to Red Rocks or?
Oh man, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any shows that stood out that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, I could do let's see, like my favorite show, one of my favorite shows, I took my mom for Mother's Day I bought her second row James Taylor tickets
Oh, wow.
and at Red Rocks and we went up. She flew in and we this was back when I was in college and we went up there for the James Taylor show and she is a diehard James Taylor fan.
Super cool.
Pretty sure she screamed her lungs out had no voice from screaming the whole time and but it was so much fun. That I think that one's my most memorable just because my mom was with me. And then I saw a whole bunch of like jam band shows like String Cheese Incident,
Sure.
Fish,
Big Head Todd.
yeah, I've seen him once there.
Okay, cool.
I think he was sitting in with String Cheese. They may have opened. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Yeah.
They get there pretty frequently.
Mhm.
All right, this is the last question, then I will hand you off to the really, really important question.
Okay.
I know we have folks in the chat asking, when is the question going to get asked? It's going to get asked shortly, folks, if you could just be patient. So, tribute bands, yay or nay?
Oh, nay.
All right.
Yeah.
Not much doubt about that.
Original music, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's like you're like covering, it was like a Grateful Dead cover band, and they were doing like a whole show of a whole night. Then
Okay.
it's acceptable.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I've lost too many gigs to.
I understand. Yeah.
I don't even want to say it. To just, I'm sure they're great musicians. You know.
Right.
Is a tribute band better if they're not dressing up like them, or does it matter?
I mean, if you're gonna do it right,
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
So like, you know, like if you're gonna do Elvis, do Elvis. Like I don't need you out there without hair and makeup. All right, you know.
Makes sense.
Okay. I got a couple of quick rapid fires too to add. What if you could add your music to any movie soundtrack from your past? What would it be?
A river runs through it.
Oh, great movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'd have to write a good one for that, but yeah.
What's the last movie you went to the theaters to see?
That's a tough one.
I know.
I don't remember. What did we go to see?
Mine would probably be a Pixar movie of some kind if I had
100%.
I've been to maybe 2 movies in the last 10 years.
Okay.
I don't really go to movies.
What's the last movie you watched at home, just in general then?
What was I?
That'd probably be a better question.
Yeah. I watched No Country for Old Men the other night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Great one.
Talbo's favorites
Mhm.
there.
It is my second favorite movie, probably.
It's one of mine too.
I love it. It's a
I
little
can.
dark.
It's dark, but I can always put it on.
Yeah, for sure.
There's you another did we just become friends moment.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch my drum set. All right.
Okay.
Are we ready?
We're ready. All right, Eddie. This was a joke, it started out as a goofy question on episode 1, and it is still a goofy question now, but it is required that we ask. So, Eddie, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Oh, I was like, I should have been watching more of these, and I have seen this. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Oatmeal cream pie.
Okay, all right.
Shout out.
Gotcha.
I mean, really, all of them. But if I had to pick one, oatmeal cream pie.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, just one. That's the toughness of the
That's what makes
Then
it hard.
that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, sir.
All right,
Awesome.
Eddie. Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in the chats and that listens to this thing, make sure you go follow Eddie on all of his socials. Listen to his music and follow wherever you're listening to your music. When he releases that song later this year, and he asks you to pre-save it or things
Yeah.
like that,
It's
whatever
important.
they ask on their socials, it doesn't cost anything extra. It just helps in the game and in the algorithm and all that stuff that nobody really likes, but we have to do. So when these artists ask for things like that, that's just, the least you can do is go click that little button and support them. So, Eddie,
Awesome.
appreciate the time, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Eddie.
it.
Good to
Yeah,
see you,
man. Yeah. Talk to y'all soon.
Yes, sir.